everyone, welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Steph Wolf, and today I am going to be learning with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly even slimy friends, and in today's case it is going to be a little furry friend of ours, the oh so wonderful capybara. Now, when I say our little furry friend, I would not use that term so literally because it isn't really so little, but we'll get into that in just a second. This podcast episode is dedicated to Shay, who wrote in on Instagram. So thank you so much, Shay, for writing into the show. This episode would not be possible without you, and this podcast would not be possible without each and every one of you out there listening. So I'm so grateful that you are. And I want to say for the suggestions, if you suggested something some time ago that was never done, go ahead and send me another email, send me another message. We just did a poll on Instagram, so if you've written in via email and it still hasn't been done yet, please send another message. I love to get those messages from you guys. So I get some really sweet emails from you guys, and I wanted to give a quick shout out to Julian, who is hopefully not a furry, scaly, or slimy friend of ours, but one of our little listeners out there who is turning 8 tomorrow on March 8th. So happy birthday, little buddy. I hope you'll write into the show and tell me what your favorite animal is so we can all learn about it together on the show. So let's move on to a review of the show. So this review is coming from Canada. It was posted by Michelle on Apple Podcasts. And Michelle writes, I love this podcast. I listen every day. When I'm overwhelmed or anxious, I pop in my earbuds and learn about animals. Soon enough, I'm calm. Thank you so much, with a little smiley face there. And Michelle says it is their go-to podcast to chill. So thank you so much, Michelle, for writing that very, very wonderful review. If you want to help support the show, leaving a review like Michelle did here on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen can be such a big thing for the show. So thank you guys for doing it. So I got my facts for this episode from CurrumbinSanctuary.com and LiveScience.com. If you want to learn more about these animals and many others, you can go ahead and check the show notes of the episode where I'm going to be leaving the links for where I got my facts from this episode. So no more dilly-dallying. Let's go ahead and realize where we've been carrying some tension throughout the day. Unless, of course, you're waking up in the morning, but who knows, maybe you slept wrong. Maybe you're carrying tension somewhere in your shoulders, in your feet, in your legs. Who knows? We're all different. And I want you to do your best to let that tension go and focus on my voice as we go into this immersive experience with me, Steph Wolf, into the swampy regions of Central and South America. The first fact of the episode is that these rodents love water. They need water, in fact, to keep their dry skin moist and are found only in areas with abundant water sources. They will oftentimes sleep along the water in dense vegetation to hide from predators and to keep cool. And as we'll learn soon, sometimes the capybaras will nap in the mud or even in the shallow water as well. So as we'll get into later, they are very large, but they are still rodents, and they even behave like other rodents. They belong to the cavy or cavy family, their closest genetic relatives being guinea pigs and rock cavies. They are essentially the rodent version of the hippopotamus, gnawing their food whilst swimming in the South American swamps. On a slightly grosser note, these guys eat their own dung to extract maximum nutrition from their food much like rabbits. So oftentimes when we learn about animals, I will try to see if there's a way that we can apply it in our daily lives. Maybe there's something we can learn. So one thing that I learned is that although the capybara will do this, this is not something that is at all recommended for us humans. Let's leave the poop eating to the capybara, and we can continue to conduct ourselves in some other way. But in the case of the capybara, we must remember that sometimes this is life or death in the wild. So for them, it could be crucial to their survival, although to us it may seem very, very gross. So go figure, they are very good swimmers. It would be a little bit odd if they weren't, because they love water so much. So in the banks of the Amazon River, there are murky waters that will harbor many threats for capybaras. But life by the water is still the perfect spot to set up camp, allowing them to retreat quickly and escape from predators like anacondas, wildcats, and even eagles. They have webbed feet that will help them maneuver in the water, and their facial features are located towards the top of their large heads to help them see and breathe while they're swimming. So here we see sort of an adaptation in their anatomical and physiological structures, where they will have webbed feet for helping them maneuver in the water, and have those facial features that can allow for a much easier swimming experience. And these guys are very social animals. They will live among herds of around 10 to 20 capybaras at once, and is frequently seen mixing with other animals as well, something that is not so common. These instances are often displays of a symbiotic relationship, whereby an animal, such as a bird, can enjoy a free smorgasbord of insects, while the capybara sits back and enjoys their free grooming session. For those of you that are relatively new listeners, you maybe don't know what symbiotic means. Symbiosis is a term to refer to the relationships that different species of animals have with one another. There are different kinds of symbiosis and symbiotic relationships, some of them being equally beneficial, some of them being beneficial for one, but not really anything for the other. And then lastly, we have a relationship which is parasitic in nature, in which one animal benefits and the other one is harmed by the process. These processes are known as parasitism, that being the not so good one, commensalism, and mutualism. So we've covered so many times on this podcast animals that have this absolutely beautiful relationship with one another, and these are the kinds of relationships that keep the animal kingdom so diverse and flourishing with life. There is a lot to learn from these kinds of relationships when applied in a more human context. In the case of the capybara, they will enjoy getting a free grooming session, which will help them with prevention of certain diseases that the insects might carry, while the birds will enjoy getting sort of this free platter of insects. And they have teeth that will grow continuously. So because they have to deal with eating some of those tough aquatic plants and grasses, their pearly whites will just keep on growing. Like in the case of rabbits, their very narrow-edged teeth and high-crowned teeth are perfectly adapted for cutting up food, which means that if these guys did not have continuously growing teeth, an injury to their teeth could mean starvation. So that is great that the capybara has this adaptation. Gestation for a female capybara can last up to 180 120 days. Gestation being a fancy term for meaning how long an animal is pregnant for. They will typically give birth to around 3 pups at once, but can have anywhere between 1 to 7 offspring at a time. So these pups will weigh from 2 to 3 pounds. That's about 1 to 1.5 kilograms for those of you that prefer kilos. So they will weigh this much at birth, and they will already have teeth. They are weaned at 16 weeks, and at 18 weeks, the pups can be as big as 88 pounds. And may I remind you guys that this is a rodent. 88 pounds for a rodent is very, very large. At around a year old, pups will leave their parents' groups to find new ones, and females will sexually mature around the age of 7 to 12 months, while males mature around 15 and 24 months. I believe this is also the truth when it comes to humans. So most researchers point to the fact that females, in terms of us as humans, will mature around 22 or so, while men, such as me, will mature around the 45-year-old mark. I am just kidding. I believe it is somewhere around the age of 25 or so. But it is cool to see that maybe we share something in common with capybaras. So capybaras have quite a unique ability when it comes to vocalization. They like to express themselves by purring, barking, cackling, whistling, squealing, grunting, whining, and even teeth chattering, depending on what they are trying to communicate. Not only are there harmonic differences among social groups, but each sound a capybara makes bears a significant meaning. Vocalization can be such a useful tool in the animal kingdom because it can mean alerting the rest of the herd of an impending danger. So even though these guys really know their way around the water, they can get by on the land just fine. They can reach up to 35 kilometers an hour. That's about 22 miles an hour, and that's about as fast as some horses. Now, this is something that I would not at all have guessed. I would have guessed that they can go maybe 10 to 15 kilometers an hour maximum, but here we have the capybara surprising and surpassing expectation. So we learned at the beginning of the show that they can even sleep in the water. They can dive and stay underwater for about 5 minutes at a time and will often fall asleep in the water while keeping their nose at the edge of the banks. They will nap along rivers, mangroves, and marshes to help them stay cool. Now, while this might sound very relaxing, we have to remember the capybara is built very, very differently in terms of their anatomical structure, how they breathe and things like that. It is higher up on their face, so doing this is pretty easy for them, but because our nose is very close to our mouth and our head, it can be a little bit challenging to try to copy them, and I certainly would not recommend it. An adult capybara weighs as much as an adult human, with an average weight of about 50 kilograms. These barrel-shaped mammals are certainly no field mice. They will weigh anywhere between 35 and 70 kilograms. Which is about 77 to 154 pounds, although female capybaras are just a little bit heavier than their male counterparts. This next fact I am very grateful for, given how large these guys can be. It is that they are herbivores. This means that they are vegetarians, so they will eat a diet of aquatic plants, grasses, barks, tubers, and sugarcane. And although they're able to eat their greens in just a short week of being born, they will drink milk for the first 16 weeks of their lives, suckling indiscriminately from any of the mothers in the group, which isn't always the case with many other animals. The mothers will often only let milk out when it comes to their specific genetic offspring. So the fact that they are not meat eaters and carnivores when they can weigh up to 150 pounds and can run 22 miles an hour or 35 kilometers an hour is something that we can be very grateful for. Let's move on to the final fact of the episode, which is capybara. What does the name mean, or where did it come from? The name originally came from Tupi, bear with me guys, because I'm not going to say this right, but it comes from the Tupi word capybara, which comes from capi, which means grass, and uara, which comes from eater. So the original capybara comes from two words meaning grass eater, which of course is something that is very, very well suited to these not little guys, but big guys. So that is the final fact of this episode. What a fun suggestion we've had today. And I have learned just so much. And if you want to continue learning about animal facts and maybe some of the more scientific mechanisms behind them, you can go to listenable.io, where I have a full audio course called Relax with Animal Facts. If you would like to listen to more Relax with Animal Facts in a more structured sense and a more professional sense, I guess you could say, you can go to relaxwithanimalfacts.com and click on the listenable link, where you can go and continue your learning journey with animals. I put a lot of work into that course, so I hope that whoever listens to it lets me know either through Instagram or through email if you enjoyed it. If you use the code StefanWolf at the screen when it makes you sign up, you can get a free 7-day trial and a discount on a monthly subscription if that is what you would like. Again, thank you, Shay, for the wonderful animal suggestion. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I thank you to those of you who support the show by leaving a rating and a review, who follow the podcast on Spotify or wherever you follow, or for those of you that subscribe on Patreon for $1 or $2 a month. You guys really, really help the show keep going, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you. So I hope to see you all in the next podcast episode with the next animal. Take care.